In the recent state of the game, Massive announced that 268 gear score items are being removed from the game, which means your existing items are actually going to be converted into lower gear score items. In this video, I'm going to break down why that change is being made and what it means for you, so stick around. What's up guys, it's Skill Up here, the hype train for 1.4 still rolling along. However, there's some interesting news which Massive have put out that I think needs a lot of clarification. I'm getting a lot of questions about it, people are very anxious, so I wanted to do a quick video on it to clear up exactly what is going down here. So in the recent state of the game, Drew Cena himself informed us that 268 gear score items are being removed from the game and are going to be replaced by 229 gear score items across the board. So why are they making this change? Well, it's a little bit complicated, so I'm going to break it down for you as simply as I can. Right now, you and I completely ignore high-end items. That is the yellow items that are gear pieces, not weapons obviously, but we don't really look at those unless they are a vigorous chest, a reckless chest, or a pair of savage gloves. Pretty much everything else is ignored because most of us just look at the number 229 gear score, we compare it to 268 gear score, and we think, hey, that's not as good. A big part of it is just the fact that obviously the two-piece bonuses from gear sets can be so strong that it's useful just to have like sort of a four-piece bonus plus a two-piece bonus from another gear set, rather than trying to grab any of the talents that are provided by high-end items. The other factor is that, high-end items actually have lower stat budgets than gear sets, than 268 gear sets, because obviously they are a lower gear score, right? So we kind of look at these things in aggregate. We look at the fact that we're not getting a set bonus from it. We look at the fact the stats are lower, and we look at the fact that it's a 229 item versus a 268 item. We compare all those things in our brain and we say, no thank you, I'm going to stick with using exclusively gear set items. The thing is though, high-end items actually aren't as bad as we think they are. I mean, if you actually look at the stat budgets between a 268 gear set item versus a 229 high-end item, there is roughly a 5% difference in power between those two items. So in our brains, we look at 229 and we look at 268 and we think, man, they must be vastly different. There is no way that those two items are going to be the same power. But if you actually look at the stats that appear on them, they're very, very close in terms of their actual performance. So a lot of this is to do with the fact that there's just a number, 229, that we look at versus 268, and our brain says, no thank you. So Massive are really trying to address this, and they're trying to reposition high-end items as being more attractive by essentially just reducing the number, or the gear score number, that appears next to our existing 268 items. So right now, if you have a 268 gear score item, it is going to be converted to a 229 gear score item, but none of the stats are going to change by virtue of this conversion process, right? So the whole list of, I'm going to break this down for you so you know, right? If you've got a 268 item, it's going to become a 229 item. If you've got a 240 item, it's going to become 204. If you've got 214, it's going to go 182. And if you've got a 191, it's going to go to 163. So that's the conversion that is going to take place as we go through this, right? Now, it's really important to know that this conversion process itself will not change the stats on your items. They're going to stay exactly the same while this number changes. The gear score will change, the stats will not. So don't panic, right? It's not a nerf to your gear yet. The other side of this is that high-end items, they have foreshadowed, are also going to get a buff, just to make sure that they are on par. So if we've got a 229 item, and one of them is a gear set, and one of them is a high-end, right now there's about a 5% power difference between the two of them in terms of their stat budgets. So I expect that, they haven't actually said this, but I very much expect that high-end items are going to get about a 5% buff in terms of their stat budgets, so that they are then on par with gear set items. So the benefit obviously with the high-end items is that, you don't need any specific combination of items to unlock the talents. The talents on high-end items are already active and they just work straight out of the box. With a gear set, obviously, you need to have 2, 3, 4 pieces active before you start getting the benefit out of the talent. So that's how that is going to work. Now, to be super clear, I'll say it again, this process will not nerf your items. They're going to stay at the same power level, okay? But I'm going to go out on a limb here and talk about something very important. On the state of the game, Massive did say that this conversion process is not nerfing your gear and the stats will stay the same. However, I very much suspect that they weren't as clear here as they could have been. Given how much effort is going into the rebalancing of the game, particularly with relation to time to kill, I very much expect that we will see significant nerfs to our core stats, particularly with relation to things like bonus skill power on our mask and backpack, the huge amounts of critical hit chance we can get from gear and mods, and a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm not even going to talk about now. So what I think Massive were trying to say when they talked about this is that this conversion process itself will not change your stats. That is, changing the number from 268 to 229, not going to change your stats. But I'm guessing that further changes to gear and weapons will absolutely happen, and they will absolutely change your stats. Honestly guys, set your expectations here. Your character is absolutely going to feel more powerful in patch 1.4, but there will definitely be some nerfs coming. Like, I will be stunned if there are no nerfs. And I'm actually working on a video at the moment that spells out what I think those nerfs might be, so that people are a little bit less stunned when they arrive. Now overall, I think this change is a really great change. I actually love high-end items. If you have a look through a lot of the talents that appear on them, they're actually really nice, they're really interesting, they can be really fun, and it's a real shame that to this date they've been completely ignored by the community. But hey, it makes sense because they're just not as stat efficient as gear sets currently are. Seeing them brought back into the meta is going to be fantastic because it's going to open up huge build diversity opportunities that we have never seen before. The idea of combining 2 or 3 or even 4 pieces of high-end items with certain gear sets or even no gear sets and just running these kind of like high-end focused builds at 229 gear score is a really exciting prospect, and I just think it's a great step forward. So yes, things are going to change in a very big way. Your sort of gear score number is going to be converted, but you're not going to get nerfed as a result of that. I do expect that you'll see some other nerfs in some other ways later on, but Massive haven't said anything about that yet. And I guess that's what we'll hear about very soon. I mean, the PTS is on the way. Surely we can expect some big news on gear score changes or gear set changes coming down the pipe. They've spoken about their desire to reduce time to kill, and obviously gear sets are a major culprit when it comes to affecting overall time to kill. So watch this space, guys. Plenty more news coming from me in the next little while. The PTS is meant to be going live this week. I will, of course, be all over it like a rash, so you can expect full end-to-end coverage from me on that when it eventually drops. And of course, into 1.4 in October and survival in November and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, if you like this video, guys, do drop it a like. And if you're keen for more end-to-end division coverage, be sure to subscribe. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I appreciate your time as always. Take good care, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.